Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. Today I'm here for Mercy Tiara Kits and I'm going to be creating a sketch-inspired layout featuring the October 2024 release called Cuddle Up. This kit combines products from Simple Stories, Echo Park paper, and more. Here's my narrowed down selection. The pattern paper is from the Simple Stories Cider and Donuts collection and Echo Park Paper's Sweater Weather. The embellishments are from Simple Stories and Echo Park paper as well, and I do have some Mercy Tiara Kit exclusives. I'm going to be using the main kit, embellishment add-on, and cardstock add-on. Below, you will find a bunch of links, including to the Mercy Tiara Kits website, Instagram, and Facebook group. So here is my jumping off point. It's a Kristine Davidson sketch from Creative Scrappers. It's the October Sketch Challenge in the Mercy Tiara Kits Facebook group, and anybody can participate. The winner gets a $25 gift certificate to the Mercy Tiara Kit shop, so it's a super fun challenge. I'm going to be making just a few minor changes to this sketch, but pretty much following it. So let's get started and see what's on my desk. I'm starting out with two photos. They're actually identical photos. The smaller one is just a zoomed in version of the larger one. That gold paper, I've already trimmed it down. That's from Echo Park paper. It was in the cardstock add-on. The check paper is from Echo Park paper. The chipmunk one is from Simple Stories. I also have some of that burnt orange paper as well. Again, it was in the cardstock add-on. That was from Echo Park paper as well. And the off-white foundation page is Basil. That's from my stash. The color was White Sands. I'm just giving you an overview of what's in this tray, which is basically a bunch of embellishments from the main kit and the embellishment add-on, and I'll talk more about that later on. You can see the sketches popped up in the top left corner, so I'm going to be creating right now the foundation layers of paper that you see there. So I cut myself out a strip of that chipmunk paper, and before cutting down this checkered paper, I'm just adding a little bit of ink to it because basically what I'm going to be doing here is adhering that checkered paper on top of the chipmunk paper. Then I'm going to be trimming down a square, a 10 by 10 square of it. So that's what you see me doing right now. That chipmunk paper does have a direction, so I am just thinking, because I know what I want is that chipmunk paper to be on the left, so that narrow border to be on the left as opposed to on the right on the sketch. So you saw me hesitate there a bit. I was just looking at that chipmunk paper. I want the chipmunk's feet to be facing the bottom of the page. So the part that's visible of the chipmunk paper is about 3¼ inches, and I will be putting measurements for all of this on the screen a little bit later on. So now I have this giant chunk. I'm going to be cutting it down to 10 by 10. That yellow block of paper I showed you earlier, that already was cut down to 10¼ by 10¼ So once I finish cutting this, what I will do is I inked up the sides of that paper as well, and I did adhere it to that yellow block. The ink I used was Crumb Cake by Stampin' Up. So what I want to do right now is adhere this big block on top of my foundation page. I do fuss a bit. I just want it to be in the middle. It is just shy of 1 inch, the border around the edge of the page there. So I start doing this on camera and then I turn it off and I continue doing it off camera, and you'll see I'll be back in a minute with some photo mats for my photo. So off camera, what I did was I adhered that block to the middle and I cut myself out some photo mats in this rust colored paper. This is what they are right now, but they do get changed up a bit. So I'm just showing you what they're going to look like. And what I also have to create is that border towards the bottom with the circle. Now I already have this 12-inch narrow strip of that gold paper, so I think that's what I'm going to use for my border across the bottom. And I'm also thinking of possibly backing it in that rust paper as well. Now I need a circle, so I'm getting out my die cutting machine. Actually, right now what I'm doing is, I just jumped ahead of myself. Sorry about that. I am trimming down this border. So I'm doing it at about 1 inch here, but that changes at the end of this video. So the measurements I'm going to be putting on the screen are actually different than what you see me cutting right now. Sorry to confuse you, but I did tweak it at the end of this video. Anyway, now what I'm going to do is cut that circle. So to cut that circle, I'm just going to cut from behind that photo mat. It's going to be covered up anyway. I'm getting out my die cutting machine and I'm getting out some nesting circle dies. I'm getting out some fancy nesting circle dies. Mine are called Spotlight on Nature from Stampin' Up. And basically around the edge of the circle, there's a little bit of embossing. So I am cutting that out again from behind my photo mat because my photo is going to cover that up. Now what I'm going to do is tidy all of this up, and you're going to see I come back and my photo mats have been changed. I decided to go with that gold colored paper instead. I didn't ruin the other pieces, so I will save them. And I did adhere those 2 strips of paper together for my border, and I also did my journaling and cut it out with those same circle dies, Spotlight on Nature. So what I want to do right now is just kind of play around with placement. So I'm following that sketch there. You can see they're kind of spread out on the sketch. The only thing I'm doing differently is I'm kind of flipping it. You can see my larger photo is on the left as opposed to the right. The same thing for my circle. So I'm just sort of flipping it, and I'm doing that because of the way the squirrels or chipmunks there are facing in the photos. Anyway, it just felt right to me. That's all I can say. I decide to bump these up closer together. So that is a little bit different than the sketch. You can see that the 2 photos and the circle touch, and I do like that. So what I'm going to do right now is adhere these pieces to the page, and then I will get out my embellishing. Another thing I can see as well, because I'm squishing these up closer together, if I look at the photo on the sketch, it's a little bit higher towards the top of the page than what mine is, but that's okay. Sketches are definitely jumping off points. Actually, I absolutely love this sketch, and I do definitely plan to do it again. So I'm going to adhere this as well. I adhere everything down here except my journaling, because that white circle, I want to leave it loose. I think I'm going to want some embellishing from popping out under that white circle. You can see all of my embellishing is around me. So I have a few title options here. That title sheet, which is basically a puffy collection from the Maggie Holmes Forever Fields collection, I selected Magic Moment. So I like that. Also, I'm not sure. I think I might want the title That One Time, because that totally reflects my story, which is that one time I didn't go on the walk with my husband and he came back with this awesome photo of 2 squirrels peeking out from a tree. So I'm not sure about the title. The other one that I did that one time were from Foam Elvis from Vicki Boutin. Both of those title options were in the main kit. Now I'm showing you the ephemera pack. So this one is journal bits and pieces from the Cider and Donuts collection. I kind of narrowed down a selection. I have some tags and tabs. Now this one here is the floral bits and pieces. It was in the embellishment add-on, and I completely dissected it. Half of these were ephemera pieces with no white edging. Those mushrooms, the pumpkins, there were some leaves as well, no white edging at all. Then there were these beautiful flower clusters that were all pre-made, but those had white edging. I started cutting the white off bit by bit, and the next thing you know, I had completely dissected the entire ephemera pack. I'm showing you, I even have a pile of little tiny leaves. I am showing you what they looked like in the first place. They really weren't bad, but I was just in the mood, so I kept cutting them. So those are the ephemera pieces. I also have these brads. They're basically self-adhesive brads and chipboard pieces from Echo Park Paper's Sweater Weather collection. I also have some washi tape here. I have some sequins. Those are Mercy Tiara Kit Club exclusives, as are these wooden acorns, which are really, really beautiful. Those wooden acorns are part of an exclusive title that is made of acrylic and wood. I'm not sure if I'm going to separate them or not, but I'm thinking I may use the acorns. They're in my selection anyway. So the first thing I have to do is select a title. Now I really like That One Time because it's really what my story's about, but Magic Moment works as well. So that's what I go with for now. And I say that because that changes at the end of the video. Now what I'm going to do is start building clusters. So basically I'm going to build 2 clusters around the left-hand bottom corner of the journaling box and the top right corner of the large photo. So I'm starting with the large bits, which are basically the flowers there. So you can see I'm tucking a few flowers in the top. I do the same at the bottom. At this point, I'm just playing. This takes me longer than it would have had I not cut apart these floral clusters, because each one of these flowers that I'm showing you was attached to leaves and branches. They were absolutely beautiful, but in my fussy cutting fury, I completely cut them apart. So that's why it's taking me a little bit longer to do this. As I'm doing it, I'm not sure if I did the right thing, but you know what? In the end, I like my page. So it's all about having fun. Anyway, so now you can see I've got my flowers placed, and now I'm tucking in a bunch of leaves. And what I'm thinking when I'm building these clusters, so first of all, I start with the bigger pieces, then I come in with the smaller bits with the leaves. And I'm also thinking about color distribution. You can see there's that aqua colored flower in the top cluster. Well, in the end, I end up adding a tiny little flower in the same color in the bottom cluster. I do the same thing with a peach flower. That one is in the bottom left cluster. In the end, I add a little tiny bit of that color with a small flower. I'm playing with it right now in the top right corner. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. The same thing by adding a little bit of black in those clusters as well. I wanted that so that it would be basically a repetition of the black that you see in the title. You can see in the top right corner there is a black flower. I selected that to go with Magic Moment, even though I thought a black flower was kind of weird. And the same thing in that bottom left cluster. I end up adding some blackish colored leaves just so that I would have black in 3 spots. As you can see, I have moved ahead to adhering. So the same approach. I start with the larger pieces, then come in with the smaller pieces, the leaves. When I did that bottom left cluster, I adhered a few pieces down, basically that large peach flower there and some leaves. Then I adhered that white journaling circle on top of it with foam adhesive, and for the rest I kind of overlapped coming off of that white circle. So I continue doing this, and again it's taking me a bit longer simply because I have so many little bits and pieces, but I do like how it looks. What I actually don't end up liking is my title. Right now you can see I'm coming in with some little tags and a little tab there in the top of that large photo. So I have 2 tags sticking out on the right. I really like that. That tab in the top, I end up removing it. Now I'm having a look at the title, and my problem with the title is I find it's kind of floating. I really like the words Magic Moment. It totally reflects my story. But the moment at the bottom, I feel like it's floating. Magic is on that border, but moment is just kind of floating underneath the page. Anyway, it does stay there for a while, and you're going to see at the very, very end, I definitely change that up. So at this point, I do need to do some finishing touches. I decide I like those tags sticking out to the right of the photo, so I adhere those within the layers of the photo. So one goes behind the photo, one goes between 2 photo mats. I'm coming in with a few smaller leaves. I have a little acorn as well, little ephemera acorn pieces, so I add, I think I have 2 at the bottom. No, I actually have 1 at the bottom and 2 at the top. And then I will have a look at some finishing touches. I end up starting by popping up some of the tips of those leaves. So I do that with the leaves just to add some dimension in each one of those clusters. And then what I'm going to do is look for, I don't know, some smaller bits and pieces. I'm getting out that title collection again, and I see this little black puffy bow, and I kind of like that at the far left of that border, so I stick that there. And basically you can see this is my finished layout. Off camera, I did add strings to the tags, and I sprinkled a few sequins in each one of the clusters. But my biggest change was the title. Now it's Remember Little Treasures. Now this still works, and design-wise I prefer it because it reinforces the shelf on the page. To be honest, I preferred the words magic moments, but I felt that they were floating and I just couldn't seem to anchor them. And here's a little fun tidbit. Often I make tweaks after seeing my page through a lens, after taking a photo of it. So if something feels a little bit off, just like I told you earlier when I felt my title wasn't quite right, snap a photo of your page and maybe it will become clearer. Anyway, that is it. I hope you enjoyed this process. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, Scrapbooking Quebec, I would be honored and thrilled if you did. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very, very much. Make sure you check out the Mercy Tiara Kits shop and all the other links that are listed below. Take care, and I will see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.